Captain Jake Morrison stood in the airlock of the Horizon's Edge, checking his equipment one final time. The heavy breathing apparatus felt awkward on his shoulders, but he knew they couldn't take any chances. Beside him, Security Chief Ben Parker adjusted his sidearm and ran through the safety protocols in his head. Dr. Kate Sullivan, their xenobiologist, clutched her scanning equipment tightly, her eyes bright with nervous excitement. "Are you sure about this, Captain?" Ben asked, his voice muffled by the helmet's communication system. "We don't know what's waiting for us over there." Jake looked through the small window at the dark ship floating just 50 meters away. It had been 12 hours since they first discovered the alien vessel, and the mysterious pulses had grown stronger and more complex. Amy's analysis suggested the patterns were definitely some form of communication, but they still had no idea what the messages meant. "We have to try, Ben. This could be humanity's first contact with an alien civilization." "We can't just run away," Jake replied, his voice steady despite the fear in his chest. Dr. Sullivan spoke up, her voice filled with scientific curiosity. "The atmospheric readings from the ship are breathable, but I still recommend we keep our suits on. We don't know what kind of bacteria or viruses might be present." Jake nodded and activated the airlock sequence. The doors slid open with a soft hiss, revealing the small shuttle that would carry them to the alien vessel. The journey across the empty space took only a few minutes, but it felt like hours to Jake. His heart pounded as they approached the massive black hull. "There," Kate pointed to a section of the ship's surface. "That looks like it might be an airlock." As their shuttle drew closer, something incredible happened. The smooth black surface of the alien ship began to change. A section of the hull rippled like water, and an opening appeared. The edges of the new doorway glowed with a soft blue light, and Jake could see what looked like an airlock chamber beyond. "Did you see that?" Ben whispered in amazement. "The ship knew we were coming." Jake guided their shuttle into the alien airlock, and the opening sealed behind them with the same fluid motion. The chamber filled with a breathable atmosphere, and indicators on their suits showed the air was safe. When the inner door opened, they found themselves looking into a corridor that defied explanation. The walls were not made of metal or any material Jake recognized. Instead, they seemed to be constructed from something that looked like frozen starlight. The surfaces pulsed with a gentle bioluminescent glow that provided just enough light to see by. The air had a strange metallic taste, but their equipment confirmed it was safe to breathe. "This is incredible," Kate breathed, running her scanner along the walls. "The material is unlike anything in our databases. It's almost like it's alive." They moved deeper into the ship, following a corridor that seemed to stretch on forever. Jake noticed something disturbing about their surroundings. When he looked directly at the walls, they appeared solid and unchanging. But when he glanced away and looked back, the corridor seemed different. Passages that hadn't been there before appeared, while others vanished entirely. "Are you seeing this?" Ben asked, his voice tense. "The layout keeps changing." Jake tried to map their route, but it was impossible. The ship seemed to be rearranging itself around them, creating new paths and closing off others. It was as if the vessel was alive and thinking, deciding where to lead them. They walked for what felt like hours, though Jake's chronometer showed only 20 minutes had passed. The corridors were empty and silent, except for the soft sound of their footsteps. Then, suddenly, they weren't alone anymore. The figure appeared ahead of them without warning, as if it had stepped out of the shadows themselves. Jake's breath caught in his throat as he stared at the being before them. It was tall, perhaps 7 feet in height, but its form was hard to define. The creature seemed to be made of condensed darkness and starlight, its body shifting and flowing like smoke-given substance. "Don't move," Jake whispered to his team. Though his hand instinctively moved toward his weapon, the being approached them slowly, its movements graceful and fluid. As it drew closer, Jake could see that it had features that might have been a face, though they were constantly changing. Points of light that could have been eyes flickered in the darkness of its head. Then, without warning, Jake felt something touch his mind. It wasn't painful, but it was startling. Images and feelings flooded his consciousness, and he realized the alien was communicating with him directly through thought. "Welcome," the voice in his mind said, though it wasn't really a voice at all. It was more like an idea that appeared fully, formed in his thoughts. "We have been waiting for you." Jake struggled to respond, not knowing how to think back at the creature. The being seemed to understand his confusion and sent feelings of calm and reassurance. "Do not fear. We mean you no harm. I am called Shade Walker Between Stars, though that is not how you would pronounce it in your language." "Captain," Ben's voice was tight with tension. "What's happening?" "You've been standing there for 5 minutes without moving." Jake realized that the mental communication was happening much faster than normal speech. To his companions, he had only been motionless for a few moments, but he had already exchanged several thoughts with the alien. "It's communicating with me," Jake said aloud, through some kind of telepathy. Kate's scanner was beeping frantically as she tried to record the encounter. The energy readings are off the charts. Whatever this being is, it's generating massive amounts of neural activity. More figures appeared in the corridor, all similar to the first but each unique in their own way. They moved like living shadows, their forms shifting between solid and ethereal. Jake felt their presence in his mind, a gentle but overwhelming sensation of ancient wisdom and terrible sadness. "We are the Umbral Shade Walker Between Stars," explained. "We are refugees from a dying galaxy, fleeing from an enemy that consumes." All life. Images flooded Jake's mind, showing him scenes of destruction on an unimaginable scale. He saw stars being snuffed out one by one, entire solar systems disappearing into darkness. He watched as planets were stripped of all life, leaving behind empty shells of rock and metal. "What you call the Devourers, they come behind us," the alien continued. "They hunger for all that lives, all that thinks, all that dreams. They have consumed our home and countless others." Jake felt his legs grow weak as the full scope of the threat became clear. These beings weren't just refugees. They were the survivors of a galactic catastrophe, and whatever had destroyed their home was following them. "Captain, are you all right?" Kate asked, noticing his pale complexion. Jake nodded weakly and tried to focus on the alien's words. "Why are you telling us this?" He thought back. "Because your species shows promise," came the reply. "We have watched your expansion into the stars. You adapt quickly, you fight when cornered, and you do not surrender easily. These qualities may be what saves not just your galaxy, but all galaxies." The implications were staggering. Jake realized that humanity had just been thrust into a cosmic conflict they never knew existed. The Umbral were offering them knowledge and technology, but at what cost? "The Devourers have found our trail," Shade Walker Between Stars continued. "They will arrive in your galaxy within decades, perhaps sooner. Your people must be prepared, or all will be lost." Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He was just an exploration captain, not a military commander or a diplomat. But somehow, he had become humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, and that civilization was asking for help in a war that could determine the fate of the entire galaxy. "We need to get back to the ship," Jake said to his team. "Earth, Command needs to know about this immediately." The Umbral seemed to understand his urgency. They began to fade back into the shadows, but Shade Walker Between Stars remained. "We will wait," the alien said. "When your leaders are ready to speak, we will be here." "Time grows short, Jake Morrison. The darkness comes whether we are ready or not." With that, the being vanished, leaving Jake and his team alone in the shifting corridors of the alien ship. The journey back to their shuttle seemed to take only minutes, as if the ship itself was eager to speed their departure. As they returned to the horizon's edge, Jake's mind raced with everything he had learned. Humanity was about to face its greatest challenge, and they had found unlikely allies in the survivors of a destroyed galaxy. The real question was whether Earth would be ready for what was coming. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Horizon's Edge, watching the stars drift past the main viewport. The ship hummed quietly as it moved through the darkness of space, its crew busy with their daily tasks. They have been traveling for 3 weeks now, heading toward the Kepler 442 system to map new worlds and look for signs of life. Jake was a tall man with graying hair and tired eyes. He had spent 15 years exploring the far reaches of space, and this mission felt like just another routine survey. His crew was small but skilled, and they had worked together for almost 2 years. He trusted them with his life, and they trusted him to bring them home safely. Captain, we're approaching the outer asteroid belt, called Tony Blake from the navigation station. Tony was young and eager, always excited about finding something new. His fingers danced across the control panels as he guided the ship through the scattered rocks and debris. Good work, Tony. Lisa, how are our systems holding up? Jake asked, turning to his chief engineer. Lisa Carter looked up from her station, wiping grease from her hands with a dirty cloth. She was a practical woman who knew every bolt and wire on the ship. Everything's running smooth, Captain. The new engines are working better than expected. We should have plenty of power for the deep scans. Jake nodded and walked over to where Amy Walsh was studying her screens. Amy was the ship's science officer, a quiet woman who loved puzzles and mysteries. She spent most of her time analyzing data and looking for patterns that others might miss. What do you see out there, Amy? Jake asked, leaning over her shoulder to look at the sensor readings. Amy frowned at her screen, her fingers tapping against the console. The asteroid field is pretty standard, Captain. Lots of iron and nickel, some rare metals. But there's something strange about Sector 7. I'm picking up an energy signature that doesn't match anything in our database. Jake felt his pulse quicken. After so many years of routine missions, the possibility of finding something truly unknown was exciting. Can you get a better reading? I'm trying, but the signal keeps shifting. It's like it's hiding from our scanners. Amy's voice was filled with curiosity and concern. Whatever it is, it's big. Much bigger than anything else in the asteroid. Field, Tony, set course for Sector 7. Let's take a closer look, Jake ordered. The ship changed direction, moving carefully through the floating rocks. Jake watched the screens as they got closer to the source of the strange signal. The asteroids around them were normal, just chunks of rock and metal left over from when the solar system was young. Captain, I'm getting visual contact, Tony announced. You're going to want to see this. The main screen flickered and then showed what lay ahead of them. Jake stared in amazement at what he saw. Floating among the asteroids was a ship, but it was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was enormous, at least 3 times the size of the Horizon's Edge, and its hull was completely black. Not just dark, but black in a way that seemed to absorb all the light around it. My God, whispered Lisa, joining them at the front of the bridge. What is that thing? The ship had a sleek, curved shape that reminded Jake of a giant sea creature. Its surface was smooth and featureless, with no visible weapons or windows. It looked ancient, but there were no signs of damage or wear. It simply floated there in the darkness, waiting. Amy, are you getting any readings from it? Jake asked, unable to take his eyes off the mysterious vessel. The energy signature is definitely coming from that ship, Amy replied, her voice tense with excitement. But our scanners can't penetrate the hull. It's like it's made of some kind of material that bends our sensor beams around it. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. In all his years of exploration, he had never encountered anything like this. The ship was clearly not human, and it was far more advanced than anything Earth had ever built. Try to hail them, Jake ordered. Tony opened communication channels and sent out standard greeting signals in multiple languages. They waited, but there was no response. The dark ship continued to float silently among the asteroids. No answer. Captain, Tony reported, but I'm picking up something else. There are regular pulses coming from inside the ship. They're very faint, but they're definitely there. Amy studied the pulse patterns on her screen, her brow furrowed in concentration. These aren't random, Captain. There's a definite rhythm to them. It could be some kind of communication system, or maybe a navigation beacon. Jake made a decision that would change everything. Move us closer, but keep our distance. I want to get a better look at this thing. As they approached the alien vessel, Jake noticed something strange. The space around the ship seemed different somehow, as if the darkness was thicker there. The stars beyond the ship appeared distorted, their light bending in ways that didn't make sense. Captain, our instruments are acting up, Lisa reported from her station. The gravitational readings are all wrong. It's like that ship is warping. Space around itself. Jake felt his heart racing. This was no ordinary discovery. They have found something that challenged everything humans thought they knew about space and physics. The ship was clearly the product of a civilization far more advanced than Earth's. Amy, record everything. Every sensor reading, every scan, every pulse pattern. We need to document all of this, Jake ordered Dot as they circled the dark ship. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The vessel showed no signs of life, but something about it felt alive. It was as if the ship itself was aware of their presence and was studying them just as carefully as they were studying it. The pulses are getting stronger, Tony reported, and they're changing pattern. It's almost like they're responding to our presence. Jake stared at the alien ship, his mind racing with possibilities. Who had built it? Where had it come from? And most importantly, was anyone still alive inside? Captain, what are your orders? Lisa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake knew this moment would define not just his career, but possibly the future of humanity. They had found proof that Earth was not alone in the universe. The question now was what to do about it. We investigate, Jake said firmly. This could be the most important discovery in human history. We need to find out what this ship is. And who built it? The crew exchanged nervous glances, but Jake could see the excitement in their eyes. They were explorers, and this was what they had always dreamed of finding. An alien ship, waiting in the darkness of space, holding secrets that could change everything. As the horizon's edge continued to orbit the mysterious vessel, Jake began planning their next move. They would need to be careful, but they couldn't let fear stop them from learning the truth. The dark ship had waited who knows how long among the asteroids. Now it was time to discover what secrets it held. The pulses from the alien ship grew steadily stronger, as if inviting them to come closer. Jake stood on the bridge, watching the strange vessel and wondering what they would find inside. One thing was certain, their quiet exploration mission had just become something much more dangerous and exciting. The dark ship waited in the silence of space, its secrets hidden behind walls of unknown metal and technology. Soon, Jake and his crew would discover that some mysteries are more dangerous than they appear, and that first contact with an alien civilization would test humanity in ways they never imagined. Jake Morrison stood in the command center of Kepler's ship, looking at a star map that showed the entire galaxy. Red dots marked the locations where bonded Vorthok were protecting human settlements. Blue dots showed where traditional Vorthok hunting packs were still following the old ways. The map was mostly blue, with scattered patches of red. We are outnumbered 10-1, Kepler said, his claws clicking against the control panel. First Claw has convinced many packs that the bonding is a disease that will destroy our people. Lisa Hayes was working at a communication station, trying to coordinate with human colonies that have reported Vorthok activity. Jake, I'm getting reports from all over the frontier. Some settlements are being protected by bonded Vorthok, but others are under attack by the traditional hunters. The traditional hunters are killing humans to prevent more bonding from happening, Dr. Pierce explained. He had been studying Vorthok communications for the past week. They believe that if they eliminate enough humans, the bonded will have no one left to protect and will return to the old ways. Danny Brooks sat in a corner, looking uncomfortable surrounded by alien technology. Jake, maybe we should head back to Earth and warn the Colonial Defense Force. This is getting too big for us to handle. Jake studied the map again. Each red dot represented a group of Vorthic who had chosen protection over predation. Each blue dot represented hunters who saw that choice as corruption. "How many bonded are there now?" he asked Keffer. 237. Keffer replied. "More join us each day, but First Claw's death squads are hunting them down. Yesterday, we lost 12 bonded on the Rim worlds." "Death squads?" Jake asked. "Elite hunters trained to kill other Vorthic," Dr. Pierce said. "They're called purists. They believe the only way to save their species is to eliminate every Vorthic that has been corrupted by human mercy." The ship's communication system chimed, and Keffer activated it. Another Vorthic voice spoke in their native language, which Lisa's translation software had been improving. "What are they saying?" Jake asked. Lisa checked her computer. "It's a distress call from a group of bonded on a planet called Haven's Rest. They're under attack by a purist hunting pack. They're asking for help." Keffer made a growling sound that Jake had learned meant anger. "Haven's Rest is 3 days away at maximum speed. We cannot reach them in time." "How many bonded are there?" Jake asked. 5, Keffer replied. "They are protecting a human mining operation. 200 humans depend on them for protection from local predators." Jake felt sick to his stomach. 200 people were going to die because he had shown kindness to a wounded animal. There has to be something we can do. Dr. Pierce was working at another console. "Jake, I might have an idea. What if we could talk directly to the First Claw? If we could explain what the bonding really means, maybe we could prevent more violence." "The First Claw does not speak to prey," Keffer said. "In his eyes, all non-Vortic are either food or obstacles to be removed. But I'm not just prey anymore, am I?" Jake said. "I'm the one who started this change. Maybe he will be curious enough to meet me." Keffer stared at Jake with his large, intelligent eyes. "You would risk your life to speak with the most dangerous hunter in the galaxy? People are dying because of something I started," Jake said. "I have to try to stop it." Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. "That's suicide. Even if the First Claw agreed to meet you, he would probably kill you just to prove a point." "Maybe," Jake said. "But maybe not." "Keffer, is there any way to contact the First Claw?" Keffer was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated another communication channel and spoke in the Vorthic language. The response came quickly, and it sounded angry. "I have told him that the Mercy Giver wishes to speak with First Claw," Keffer said. "They say he will meet you, but only in the ancient hunting grounds where Vorthic law says no weapons can be used except claws and teeth." "That doesn't sound much safer," Danny said. Dr. Pierce looked up from his research. "Actually, it might. The hunting grounds are sacred to the Vorthic. If the First Claw agreed to meet there, he's bound by their oldest laws. You can't simply kill Jake without cause." "What constitutes cause?" Lisa asked. "If Jake shows fear, attacks first, or tries to run," Dr. Pierce said. "Basically, he has to behave like a predator, not prey." Jake took a deep breath. "Okay, set up the meeting." 3 days later, Jake found himself standing on a barren planet covered in red sand and strange black rocks. The sky was orange, and 2 small suns provided harsh light that made everything look like it was on fire. This was the place where the Vorthic species had evolved millions of years ago. Keffer stood beside Jake, but he would not be allowed to interfere if violence broke out. Vorthic law was clear. The meeting had to be between Jake and the First Claw alone. "Remember," Keffer said, "show no fear. Look him in the eyes, speak as an equal, not as prey." Jake nodded, though his heart was beating so fast he thought it might explode. In the distance, he could see a dark shape moving across the sand. It was huge, even bigger than HFY. The first claw approached slowly, deliberately. Jake could see that this vortex was ancient. Its scales were scarred from countless battles, and one of its eyes was missing. But it moved with the confidence of a creature that had never been defeated. When the first claw was 20 feet away, it stopped and spoke in perfect human language. "So," it said, its voice deep and rumbling, "you are the small creature that has poisoned my people with weakness." Jake fought the urge to step backward. "I am Jake Morrison. I helped one of your people who was dying." "That's not poison. That's mercy. Mercy," the first claw said, as if the word tasted bad. "A concept for prey animals. Predators do not show mercy. They hunt, they kill, they survive. This is the way." "But your people are more than just predators," Jake said. "They're intelligent. They have honor codes and social structures. They can choose to be something better than killers." The first claw moved closer, and Jake could smell the scent of old blood on its breath. "You think you understand us, little human? You think your weakness can make us strong?" "I think strength isn't just about how many things you can kill," Jake said. "Real strength is choosing to protect instead of destroy. The bonded vortex haven't become weak. They've become something new. They have become slaves," the first claw snarled. "They serve prey animals instead of hunting them. They have forgotten what it means to be vortex." Jake looked directly into the first claw's remaining eye. Have they? Or have they remembered what it means to have honor? HFY told me that vortex culture is based on honor and strength. What's more honorable, killing helpless creatures or protecting them? The first claw was quiet for a moment. Then it made a sound that might have been laughter. "You argue like a philosopher, little human. But philosophy does not change nature. A hunter is a hunter. A hunter chooses what to hunt," Jake said. "The bonded have chosen to hunt evil instead of innocence. They hunt slavers and pirates and predators that threaten the weak. How is that less honorable than hunting defenseless prey?" The first claw circled around Jake, studying him. "You show no fear. This is unexpected." "I'm terrified," Jake admitted. "But I won't let fear stop me from doing what's right. Just like you won't let tradition stop you from doing what's honorable." The ancient vortex stopped directly in front of Jake. "You believe the bonded are still true hunters?" "I believe they're better hunters than they ever were before," Jake said. "They hunt for justice instead of just survival. They protect the weak instead of preying on them. They've found a higher purpose." The first claw stared at Jake for what felt like forever. Then it spoke in the vortex language to HFY, who had been watching from a distance. "What did he say?" Jake asked. HFY approached carefully. "He said that you fight with words like a true predator fights with claws." "He is impressed." The first claw spoke again, this time in human language. "I will not stop the hunt against the bonded, but I will not actively encourage it either. Let them prove that mercy can be stronger than tradition. If they survive, perhaps they will earn the right to call themselves vortex." Jake felt a wave of relief wash over him. It wasn't peace, but it wasn't all-out war either. "Thank you for listening to me." "Do not thank me yet, little human," the first claw said. "You have changed my people in ways you do not understand. The consequences of your mercy have only just begun." As the ancient vortex walked away across the red sand, Jake realized that the real battle was just beginning. He had saved the bonded from immediate extinction, but now they would have to prove that compassion could be stronger than tradition. Civil war among the vortex would continue, but now it would be fought with a different kind of honor. 2 weeks after the events on Titan's Edge, Jake Morrison found himself sitting in a crowded bar on Crossroads Station, one of the largest trading hubs in the galaxy. The station was built inside a massive asteroid and housed thousands of beings from dozens of different species. It was the kind of place where you could find anything or anyone if you knew where to look. Jake was not alone. Lisa Hayes sat across from him, studying her computer screen with intense focus. Next to them sat Danny Brooks, who had refused to leave Jake's side since the Vortic encounter. At a nearby table, Dr. Helen Carter was talking quietly with a man Jake had never seen before. "I've been going through the galactic databases," Lisa said, not looking up from her screen. "Jake, what you did is bigger than we thought. There are reports coming in from all over the galaxy about Vortic behaving strangely." "What kind of strange behavior?" Jake asked, taking a sip of his drink. "Protecting humans instead of hunting." "Them," Lisa said. "A cargo ship captain named Ray Johnson says a Vortic saved his crew from pirates last month. A research team on the Outer Rim reports that local Vortic have been leaving them gifts of rare minerals." Danny shook his head. "This is insane. These things have been killing people for thousands of years, and now they're bringing presents?" Dr. Carter finished her conversation and came over to their table. "Jake, I'd like you to meet Dr. Alan Pierce. He's been studying Vortic behavior for 20 years. Dr. Pierce was a tall, thin man with gray hair and tired eyes. He looked like someone who had seen too much of the galaxy's dark side. "Mr. Morrison," he said, sitting down at their table, "Dr. Carter has told me about your experience. I need to ask you some questions." "Sure," Jake said, "though I'm not sure how much help I can be." Dr. Pierce pulled out a recording device. "Tell me exactly what happened when you first encountered the wounded Vortic. Every detail you can remember." Jake told the story again, from finding the creature in the valley to treating its wounds to the way it had touched his hand before he left. Dr. Pierce listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes. "Fascinating," Dr. Pierce said when Jake finished. "You've done something that no one in recorded history has ever done. You show mercy to a Vortic, and it survived to tell others about it. What's so special about that?" Danny asked. Dr. Pierce looked around the bar to make sure no one was listening, then leaned closer to the table. "The Vortic have a social structure based entirely on honor and strength. They respect only those who can defeat them in combat or those who show greater hunting skill. Mercy is not part of their culture." "But the one I helped understood what I was doing," Jake said. "Exactly," Dr. Pierce said. "And that's what makes this so dangerous. You've introduced a completely new concept into their society. Some Vortic are adapting to it, but others see it as a corruption that must be destroyed." Lisa looked up from her computer. "Dr. Pierce, I'm seeing reports of Vortic fighting each other. Is that connected to what Jake did?" Dr. Pierce nodded grimly. "The Vortic are having a civil war. The traditional hunters, led by an ancient Vortic called the First Claw, want to eliminate what they see as corrupted members of their species. The corrupted ones are the Vortic, who have bonded with humans." "Bonded?" Jake asked. "That's what we're calling it," Dr. Pierce said. "The Vortic who have experienced human mercy seem to form a permanent attachment to humans in general, not just the individual who helped them. They become protectors instead of predators." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "How many Vortic are we talking about?" "Our best estimate is over 100 across the galaxy," Dr. Pierce said. "And the number is growing every week. Each time a bonded Vortic encounters other members of its species, some of them seem to adopt the same protective behavior." Danny stared at Jake. "You started a revolution among the most dangerous species in the galaxy." Before Jake could respond, alarms started blaring throughout the station. The lights dimmed to emergency red, and an announcement echoed through the bar. "All station personnel and visitors, please remain calm. We have detected unauthorized ships approaching the station. Security teams are responding." Dr. Pierce grabbed Jake's arm. "We need to leave. Now." "Why?" Jake asked. "What's happening?" "Vortic ships," Dr. Pierce said, pulling Jake toward the exit. "Both sides of their civil war have been tracking down humans who have had contact with bonded Vortic. Some want to protect them, others want to eliminate them." They ran through the station's corridors as the alarms continued to wail. Other people were running too, trying to reach the docking bays where their ships were parked. Jake could see through the station's windows that several large dark ships had surrounded Crossroads Station. "Those are Vorthic hunting vessels," Dr. Pierce said. "I've seen them before. They're built for war." They reached the docking bay where Dr. Pierce's research ship was parked. As they climbed aboard, Jake could see that one of the Vorthic ships was moving closer to the station. "Dr. Pierce," Lisa said, looking at her scanner, "I'm detecting life forms moving through the station. They're not human." Through the ship's communication system, they heard a voice speaking in broken human language. The accent was strange, like someone trying to speak with a mouth not designed for human words. "Humans of mercy," the voice said. "We seek the one who healed Pack Brother. We come in honor, not in hunt." Dr. Pierce activated the ship's communication system. "This is Dr. Alan Pierce. What do you want with Jake Morrison?" "We are the bonded," the voice replied. "We protect the mercy giver. Other hunters come to destroy. We fight for honor of New Way." Jake took the communication device from Dr. Pierce. "This is Jake Morrison. I'm the one who helped your Pack Brother. What's happening?" "Mercy giver," the voice said, and Jake could hear something like relief in it. "First Claw sends death hunters. They seek to end the bonding, to kill all who show New Way. We came to protect you." "The First Claw?" Jake asked. Dr. Pierce answered. "The oldest and most powerful Vorthic hunter. If it's personally involved, then this conflict is more serious than I thought." The ship shook as something large landed on the station's docking bay. Through the windows, Jake could see a massive Vorthic, even bigger than the ones he had encountered before. Its scales were almost black, and its claws looked like they could cut through steel. "That's Kethver," the voice on the radio said. "The Pack Brother you healed. He leads the bonded now." Jake stared at the huge creature. It was hard to believe. This was the same dying animal he had found in the valley. Kethver looked around the docking bay, then walked directly to Dr. Pierce's ship. "He wants to see you," Dr. Pierce said. "Jake, I think you need to go out there." "Are you crazy?" Danny said. "That thing could kill him with one swipe." Jake looked at his friends, then at the Vorthic waiting outside. "I think I need to talk to him. This whole situation started because I helped him. Maybe I can help end it too." Lisa grabbed his arm. "Jake, be careful. Even if this Kethver is friendly, there are other Vorthic out there who want you dead." Jake nodded and walked to the ship's airlock. As the door opened, he could smell the strange scent of the Vorthic, like metal and lightning. Kethver was even more impressive up close, standing nearly 10 feet tall. The Vorthic looked down at Jake and made a sound that was almost like a purr. Then it spoke in the same broken human language they had heard on the radio. "Mercy giver," Kethver said. "You gave life. Now we give purpose. Honor debt becomes honor bond." "I don't understand," Jake said. Kethver touched Jake's shoulder with one massive claw, the same gentle touch Jake remembered from their first meeting. "You showed mercy to enemy. This changed us. We are no longer just hunters. We are guardians." "But your people are fighting each other because of what I did," Jake said. "Change brings conflict," Kethver said. "Always fight new ways, but mercy is stronger than hunt. We will prove this." Jake looked into the Vorthic's eyes and saw the same intelligence he had noticed before, but now there was something else. "Purpose, hope. What do you need from me?" Jake asked. "Help us show Galaxy that hunters can become protectors," Kethver said. "Show them that mercy creates strength, not weakness." Jake realized that his simple act of compassion had created something unprecedented in galactic history. The most feared predators in the galaxy were choosing to become guardians instead of killers, and they wanted him to help lead that transformation. "Okay," Jake said. "I'll help you. But we do this together, as equals." Kethver made that purring sound again. "Honor bond," he said. "Together we hunt for peace." Jake smiled. For the first time since this all began, he felt like he understood what was happening. He hadn't just saved one creature's life. He had given an entire species a new way to live. Now he had to help them fight for that new way of life. The cargo ship landed on Titan's Edge during a thunderstorm. Jake Morrison and Lisa Hayes ran through the rain toward the research station, their equipment bags heavy on their shoulders. The planet was dark and cold, with jagged mountains rising. Up around the small human settlement. "This place gives me the creeps," Lisa said as they reached the main building. No wonder Danny sounded so scared. The research station was supposed to house 50 people, but Jake could see only a few lights in the windows. Most of the buildings looked empty. When they reached the main entrance, they found the door was reinforced with metal bars. Danny Brooks opened the door for them, looking much thinner than Jake remembered. His face was pale, and his hands shook as he let them inside. "Jake, thank God you came," Danny said, hugging his old friend. "I was starting to think I was going crazy. What's been happening here?" Jake asked, looking around the empty hallway. "People started disappearing 3 weeks ago," Danny said. "First, it was just 1 or 2 researchers who went out to collect samples. Then the security team went looking for them and never came back. Now there are only 12 of us left." Lisa pulled out her scanner and started taking readings. "Any idea what's taking them?" Danny led them to a small conference room where the remaining researchers were gathered. Jake recognized the look on their faces, the same fear he had seen in mining camps when dangerous wildlife moved into the area. "We found bodies," said Dr. Helen Carter, the station's chief scientist. "Or what was left of them. Something tore them apart with claws and teeth. But here's the strange part. The attackers weren't random animals. They were organized, like a military operation." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. Dr. Carter showed them photos on her tablet. "The attack patterns are too precise. Someone or something is hunting specific people. The victims were all members of a salvage crew that arrived here 2 months ago. They were looking for rare minerals in the mountain caves." Jake felt his stomach drop. "What kind of salvage crew?" "Illegal one," Danny said quietly. "They were Zelthrian slavers. They've been capturing humans from remote settlements and selling them to alien buyers for genetic experiments." Lisa looked at Jake with understanding in her eyes. "And you think the Vorthik is hunting them?" "I don't know what else it could be," Danny said. "Ever since that day in the valley, I've been having nightmares about that creature. And now something is killing people here, and I found claw marks just like the ones we saw." Dr. Carter interrupted. "Did you just say Vorthik? Are you telling me there's a Vorthik on this planet?" "It's a long story," Jake said. "But yes, I think there might be." The lights in the building suddenly went out. Emergency power kicked in a few seconds later, bathing everything in red light. Through the windows, Jake could see movement in the darkness outside. "Everyone stay calm," Dr. Carter. This has happened before. Something keeps cutting our power lines." Jake walked to the window and looked out into the storm. Lightning flashed across the sky, and in that brief moment of light, he saw something that made his blood freeze. A large, dark shape was moving between the buildings, too big to be human and too fast to be a machine. "It's here," Jake whispered. The creature appeared again during the next lightning flash, closer to the building. Jake could see its scaled skin and the way it moved on 6 legs. It was definitely the same species as the Vorthik he had helped. "Jake," Lisa said, checking her scanner, "I'm reading multiple life forms outside. Whatever's out there, it's not alone." The sound of breaking glass came from somewhere else in the building. Then screaming, Dr. Carter grabbed her radio and tried to contact the other survivors, but got only static. "We need to get to the safe room," she said. "It's in the basement, reinforced with steel walls." They ran through the hallways, following the emergency lighting. Jake could hear sounds of fighting coming from other parts of the building. Something was roaring in anger, and he could hear the sound of claws scraping against metal. They reached the basement and found 3 other researchers already there, looking terrified. Dr. Carter sealed the heavy door behind them and activated the security system. "We should be safe in here," she said. The walls are thick enough to stop most weapons. Something heavy hit the door from outside. Then again, the metal started to bend inward. That's not going to hold for long, Lisa said. Jake looked around the room. There was another door at the far end, leading to a maintenance tunnel. Is there another way out? The tunnel leads to the power station, Dr. Carter said. But we'd have to go outside to reach the main gate. The door was hit again, harder this time. Jake could see claw marks appearing in the metal. We don't have a choice, Jake said. We need to run. They opened the back door and ran through the maintenance tunnel. Behind them, they could hear the safe room door finally breaking open. Heavy footsteps followed them through the tunnel. They emerged from the tunnel near the power station. The storm was getting worse, and the rain made it hard to see. Jake led the group toward the main gate, but they didn't get far before they heard a sound that stopped them cold. It was the same growling noise Jake remembered from the valley, but louder and more intense. The Vorthik appeared in front of them, blocking their path to the gate. Nobody move, Jake said quietly. Let me handle this. The creature was bigger than the one Jake had helped, with scars across its face and shoulders. But it moved the same way, with the fluid grace of a perfect predator. Its eyes focused on Jake, and he saw something familiar in them. You're not the same one, Jake said, stepping forward slowly. But you know about me, don't you? The Vorthik tilted its head, studying Jake. Then it made a series of sounds that almost sounded like speech. Jake didn't understand the words, but the tone was questioning. Jake, what are you doing? Lisa whispered. I think it's trying to communicate, Jake said. He pulled out his medical kit and held it up so the creature could see it. I helped one. Of your kind. I'm a healer, not a threat. The Vorthik looked at the medical kit, then back at Jake. It made more sounds, and Jake thought he heard something like recognition in his voice. Behind the Vorthik, Jake could see other shapes moving. In the darkness, more of the creatures surrounding the group. But they weren't attacking. They were waiting. Lisa, Jake said without taking his eyes off the Vorthik. Can your translation software work with these sounds? Lisa carefully pulled out her computer and started recording. The Vorthik noticed the device and made more sounds, speaking directly to it. It's working, Lisa said excitedly. The computer is finding patterns in the sounds. Give me a minute to build a basic translation matrix. The Vorthik waited patiently while Lisa worked. Jake noticed that the creature had several wounds on its body, and one of them looked infected. You're hurt, Jake said, pointing to the infected wound. I can help you, just like I helped the other one. The Vorthik looked at its wound, then back at Jake. It made a decision and stepped closer, lowering its head to show submission. I think it's saying debt bond, Lisa said, looking at her computer screen. And something about honor hunt. The translation is rough, but I think it's trying to explain why it's here. Jake knelt down and opened his medical kit. The Vorthik watched him but didn't move away. Jake cleaned the infected wound and applied antibiotic treatment, just like he had done months ago. The computer is getting better at translation, Lisa said. It's saying something about pack brother and life debt. I think this Vorthik is connected to the one you helped. You came here to protect me, Jake said to the creature. You've been hunting the slavers because they were a threat to humans. The Vorthik made a sound that Lisa's computer translated as agreement. Then it made more complex sounds. It's saying that the pack brother told the others about the human who showed mercy, Lisa said. It's explaining that you changed something in their understanding of the hunt. Jake finished treating the wound and stepped back. The Vorthik tested its movement and made what sounded like a grateful noise. You don't hunt us anymore, Jake realized. You hunt for us. The Vorthik looked at Jake with those intelligent eyes and made one more sound. Lisa's computer translated it as a single word, honor. Around them, the other Vorthik moved closer, but Jake was no longer afraid. He understood now that his simple act of compassion had created something new, a bond between species that had never existed before. The storm was ending. and the first light of dawn was appearing on the horizon. Jake looked at the Vorthik and realized that everything was about to change. Not just for him, but for all of humanity.